Welcome back to Cleveland, Ohio, and you have to wonder, has this now become all-star tradition? The target tonight, Dikembe Mutombo of the Atlanta Hawks. A year ago in San Antonio, you may recall, right before the introduction, Michael Jordan attempted to pull down the pants of Penny Hardaway to the amusement of the rest of the squad. And moments ago backstage, yes, the combination of Hardaway and Jordan ganging up on Mutombo.
How reflective, though, of just the distance that Penny has come from victim to accomplice in just 1 year.
And we are set for the opening tip. Hugh Evans, Bill Oakes, Ron Garretson are the officials. The East leading the All-Star Series 29-17. The East and West have split the last 10 games. At one point in the early 1980s, the East won 5 in a row. And last season in San Antonio, the East defeated the West 129-118. Now, the problem here, as I see it today, at the Gund Arena scoreboard, is it capable? Because Mike Fratello coaches the Cleveland Cavaliers in a different brand of basketball. Is that third digit, does it light up? Can they hit the century mark?
Mark, maybe they'll just call the game when it's 70-65.
Everybody will feel right at home. And it's called white ball. That is the East squad with Hardaway and Jordan in the backcourt. Hill is up front with Mutombo and Pippen.
Well, the strategy for both teams, such as it is run fast, jump high, shoot straight. And Scottie Pippen can't get the first one, and somehow or other keep those spectacular passes near the court.
And this is Gary Payton of the Seattle Sonics getting it back from Karl Malone. And the East back to the offense.
Beautiful ball movement that time to give and go. Critical elements for success today, Mark. Playing time. Always a good idea to bribe the coach to get you out there a lot more. The transition game, the ability to get up and down the court, and then individual offense. You have to be able to make it happen off your own dribble.
John Stockton of the Utah Jazz to Sean Kemp of the Sonics. Gary Payton to Sonics in the West starting lineup. Hakeem Olajuwon putting moves on to Dikembe Mutombo. Did not have the shot. Shot clock down to 1. Stockton. And here comes Pippen. The drive, and he's fouled. So Penny Hardaway will go to the line. Penny Hardaway has played only 19 games this season due to knee injuries, averaging 20 points, 5 assists for the Orlando Magic, a team that is coming on fast.
And playing very well, not only because Penny's back, Nick Anderson is back, Ronnie Cycli is having a terrific season, everything falling into place for the Magic. If you can remember Penny's first All-Star game, actually 3 years ago, very nervous in the first half, and has come out ever since then and been much more aggressive, not worrying or deferring to anybody. A couple of mismatches out on the floor. The West has 2 point guards in Stockton and Payton, the only 2 on their team. 2 big forwards for the West and 2 versatile ball handling small forwards for the East.
Picked off the fake. Olajuwon picked up on the double team. There is some defense, guys, being played out there here in the early going, but a 3 for Payton.
Off the nice pass from Hakeem. Talking to the Dream before the game, Mark. The fast ended for him today. He lost about 5 pounds during the course of the month of Ramadan, and he got to eat today for the first time. He's feeling great.
That was Michael Jordan's first shot attempt, and here is Grant Hill unleashing his first. It's the East 4, the West 3.
That's a tough matchup for Sean Kemp, having to try to guard Grant Hill out on the floor. You'd rather see Grant take that jump shot because he's about the best in the league at beating you off the dribble.
Hakeem with the good forearm up high.
And a foul is called. Bill Oakes with the call as you take a look back at the pass from Hakeem.
Hakeem is so talented, Mark. He's able to step out and play that high post going up against the much taller Dikembe Mutombo.
Jordan fouled by Payton.
Here's that nightmare matchup for Sean Kemp, trying to watch Grant Hill. Has to give ground, has to back up, but he could at least offer a hand up in his face.
Michael Jordan, who has some very pleasant memories of big games that he's played here, in Cleveland at his career-high 69 at the Richfield Coliseum.
And Gary Payton's got to what did I do wrong? Last Sunday, he had to watch Michael Jordan drill him and others for 45, and here he has to guard him again in All-Star competition.
Michael at practice yesterday told me that he's a little bit more relaxed this year. Last year, after the 2-year layoff, he came out so focused, so intense. He's going to enjoy himself a little bit more with all the festivities. There's been a smile on Michael's face all weekend.
Hakeem Olajuwon has tied the game at 5. Hakeem Olajuwon, one of 3 Houston Rocket All-Stars, but Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley sitting it out because of injury. Jordan trying to twist that one home. Here comes Payton. The look away to Stockton. Yes. And the West leads 7-5.
Now, John's been on the receiving end of a couple of passes earlier in the game when it first started. He was in the post, of course. Got a nice pass from Shawn Kemp, and there, a good feed from Payton.
But John's just not used to playing with a lot of guys who handle the ball in the up and down game.
What a tumble! Consecutively, another opportunity.
Oh, almost a hat trick.
The game tied at 7.
They held Karl Malone. Karl Malone, who has been into it verbally from the introductions today with Scottie Pippen. Karl got out in transition, and Scottie just reached out and grabbed him, held him. Obvious foul.
Foul was called on Jordan. That is his first. And here's Kemp from long range. A 3 for Shawn Kemp, who has been struggling recently, but he's been hitting the 3. He's been looking for the 3 more frequently this season. Went through the hands of Mutombo.
Beautiful passing by Penny. I think that's one of the great things about the All-Star game, Marv, is the creativity that you see, not only in shooting, but in the ball movement as well.
3.5 minutes gone by in the first quarter. That was intended for Jordan. Marv Albert with Matt Dukas and Bill Walton will be joined later on the sidelines by Ahmad Rashad and Jim Gray. Hill fronting Kemp. Call for the foul, a push on Grant Hill of the Detroit Pistons.
Marv, you talked with Matt earlier about the advantages for the East. It looks like the East has the 6-7 range dominance with Jordan and Pippen, Grant Hill and Penny. But the West has the 6'10 to 6'11 range dominance with Kemp and Karl Malone, Christian Laettner. And of course, the new guys off the bench with Kevin Garnett.
All right, Payton alley-oop with his teammate Kemp. And it did not work.
Well, we've seen 2 alley-oopers so far. Nobody can get a hand on them yet. They're going to have to adjust their passes. The problem the East is having right now, they really don't know who the primary ball handler is. Everybody's taking their turn because Grant Hill has it. He's used to handling. Penny Hardaway gets the jumper there. He's used to handling for Orlando. Of course, Pippen for Chicago.
It is the West 10 and the East 9. And Kemp fires one up. Well, Karl Malone on the rebound. Obviously, Shawn Kemp following the philosophy that you laid out in our opening remarks.
Shoot every time. The coach is not going to yank you for getting over-aggressive on the offensive end.
Oh, Hill stepped out of bounds. He backed up, trying to handle that pass.
On the West line, number 2, Mitch Richmond.
Scottie Pippen in transition is going to get to the hoop at the last minute. Realizes that everybody else has stopped waiting for the whistle, just threw it up, and then the alley-oop a little bit too far. Now, Shawn Kemp can get in the air with anybody. If you overthrow him, it's a little hard.
Hakeem Olajuwon showing the outside touch. He's hit his first 2 shots. The West with a 14-9 lead. Mitch Richmond of the Sacramento Kings, MVP of the All-Star game 2 years ago, has come on, replacing John Stockton. Here's Jordan, rebounded by Malone. So Michael missing on his first 3-shot attempts. Payton directing traffic, gives it up to Richmond for 3. Yes. Well, off the bench, Mitch Richmond, who's averaging 25 a game, hitting on his first shot. Payton with the steal.
What a great try by Jordan. He looked sideline, tried to fake out Payton. Payton didn't bite.
And Jordan with the rebound. He has Hill ahead of the field. You can enter that one of the slam dunk contest. 24 hours a bit late.
Grant, just getting started really in his all-star career, has learned quickly, don't get back on defense.
These are valuable lessons that you have been passing on, Bill.
I learned the hard way, Marv.
Kemp with a look-away pass, broke it up. And now Payton with the ball fake. Finds Malone. 5:45 remaining, first quarter. It's the West 17-11. And the ball back to the West. Timeout has been called. Gary Payton certainly enjoying his new teammates, leading the break, pitching out to his left to Mitch Richmond. And Richmond, who just came off the bench, able to drill the three. And at the other end, the breakaway for Grant Hill of the Pistons. His third All-Star selection in his 3 years, 3 for 3, and he does it with the reverse. We'll be back at the Gunk in Cleveland in a moment. Well, in this 50th anniversary celebration season of the NBA, we flash back to the '62 All-Star game in St. Louis, and Philadelphia's Wilt Chamberlain lit up the West squad for 42 points, an All-Star record. Wilt also with 24 rebounds in the game. The West won it anyway, 150-130. There is 13-time NBA All-Star Wilt Chamberlain. Let's go to Ahmad.
All right, thanks, Bob. I'm here with Wilt Chamberlain, one of the greatest players to ever play the game. But I guess I could say that about 50 times. But when I'm talking about you, big fella, a little bit more enthusiasm.
Well, I appreciate that. It's nice still to be here. But I want to say one thing. You know, they keep talking about all of us being great and so on and so forth. But our chances would have never came if it wasn't for the originators of the NBA. And we got to say thank you to them and the NBA and the continuance of what they're doing, because they're giving us all a chance to show our stuff and make a lot of money and have a lot of fun in life.
Well, one of the great things I saw yesterday was that I saw you and Michael Jordan talking. Now, I didn't know that you guys had never met.
Never met.
What was going on in that conversation?
Well, I just went over to say hello to him, and I was like everybody else. I meant all. You understand? So I went over to say hello and said that we got to get together and talk sometime, which he wanted to do, and it was nice. I mean, most people would have thought that we had met, but no, I don't play golf. You understand? And he doesn't play volleyball. So, but you know, here we are now.
42 points you scored in '62. Anybody going to top that?
I don't think so today. If so, they have to get 27 rebounds too. I don't know.
Oh, you just, Marv, you just see he threw that in. 42 and 27. Back to you, Marv.
All right, thanks, Ahmad. Terrell Brandon of the Cavaliers has checked in for the first time and hit his first shot attempt, and off the foul call. We have just under 5 minutes remaining in this first quarter, and the West up by the count of 19-13. Latrell Sprewell of the Warriors, who just came on, was called for that foul.
Yeah, Wilt not only remembers the stats of every All-Star game that he played in, he remembers the stats in every game he played in, and all of his teammates combined. You know, Wilt was hinting this week that he might be able to play, if asked, 5 to 10 minutes at 60 years of age. He does that about every 5 years.
Most of the top 50 players who've been together all weekend, they've been approaching guys like Kevin McHale, now running the Timberwolves. And he said, I can play 10 minutes a game, Kevin. Bring me back.
Well, the West off that drive by Payton, now leading by the score of 21-13. Chris Webber of the Washington Bullets, who just came on, missing that shot. Jordan hit the floor. So the East now with Webber able to hit. Webber up front with Baker and Brandon, Hardaway, and Jordan. This is Tom Gugliotta of the Minnesota Timberwolves shooting over Vin Baker. Jordan with a pretty pass, and then Webber lost it.
Chris will learn quickly to take that one all the way.
This is Gary Payton's fourth All-Star game, and every one of them, he really loves to play in these games and generally gets everybody involved. That time he saw the opening all by himself, but he really plays this game to try to do as well as he can, try to help the team win, try to get everybody involved.
Eddie Jones of the Los Angeles Lakers in for the first time. Nice move by Gugliotta. Tom Gugliotta, 5th year out of North Carolina State. A member of those vastly improved Minnesota Timberwolves, who now have 2 All-Stars in Gugliotta and 20-year-old Kevin Garnett. Flip Sanders, the coach of the Timberwolves, said, now there's pressure on me. I have 2 All-Stars.
Well, I mean, you watch the T-Wolves, it's a joy. The style that they play, the enthusiasm, the electricity in the crowd in Minnesota. It's all come together.
You know, his wife was the one putting pressure on him, mentioning that he had 2 All-Stars. He said, hey, how do you think they became All-Stars? Is his coaching. But he is absolutely giddy at the prospects of Kevin Garnett, at the potential that he has, the leadership, the maturity at just 20.
Plus young Stephon Marbury, who, like Garnett, is a prodigy. Just unbelievable talent.
Marv, in talking to all the guys who were here for the first time, when you come out of high school and on to college, some of the guys don't even go to college anymore, but they all think that they're just going to step right in and be here initially. And then it's a humbling experience when it doesn't happen the very first time. And then they realize after watching Jordan and Pippen and all the all-time guys how hard you have to work. Then they get back to it. And you have to give all the credit in the world to Gugliotta and Leitner and these guys who have come really from the depths now to the peak of the mountain.
You mentioned the jump from high school in the case of a Garnett or a Kobe Bryant of the LA Lakers, who won the slam dunk competition last night. But in the case of Garnett and Marbury and Bryant, not only do they have magnificent skills, but they are very mature young men, and that's the major difference.
And coachable, and like to play, and want to learn, and want to play at both ends of the floor. They have learned from some of the great players like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, that you got to play defense as well.
Gugliotta with the rebound. Tom Gugliotta with a second field and a steal. Gugliotta dishes it up. Garnett could not put it down. The West leading 26-17. Pass from Tim Hardaway picked off. Here comes Eddie Jones behind the back for Latrell Sprewell.
Wow, now, you know, remember Chris Webber and Sprewell, very tight friends at Gold State. I think he let him get in there.
Hardaway and Brandon now play in the backcourt. Here's Brandon. The crowd here in Cleveland loves it. Terrell Brandon in his second straight All-Star appearance, averaging 20 points, 6 assists for the Cavaliers. Sprewell drills it. So the West up 31-19. That's a 3 for Latrell Sprewell.
The game really heating up offensively. Back to your point about the young guys and the maturity. My experience has been that the better the player, the more he wants discipline in his program. And that's what type of skill, that's what kind of maturity these young players have exhibited at this All-Star game.
Garnett, played by Webber. Garnett looking for the step, pulled it back. Rebounded by Webber.
Not a lot of shot blockers out there. Time to get all the way there. Chris Webber's really having trouble getting his shoe time.
And then Baker rebounds. A foul is called. And a timeout is taken.
Well, the #1 thief in the NBA, Eddie Jones, showing you why. Right in the passing lane, picking off an easy one there. Handling the ball in the middle of the break. Fancy behind the back pass, as Eddie Jones has really developed his all-around game. And Latrell Sprewell can really do this. Take it to the hole.
Well, always a host of notables at the NBA All-Star Game. That's the capacity crowd. Heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield. Olympic double gold medalist Michael Johnson. And another gold medalist, Bill Murray, in his own mind. And we go to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Marv. I'm joined by Charles Barkley. He's in his 11th All-Star game, second one he's had to miss, and he's got David Robinson Jr. here on the bench. Daddy David sitting behind us. He also heard from San Antonio. Charles, how difficult to sit out an All-Star game, and when will you be back?
I'm ready to go Tuesday. I'm looking forward to going back to my team. We've been struggling. We got to get back on track. But, you know, this has been the most fun All-Star weekend I've had since my first game. Getting a chance to hang out with those other 50 players. It was one of the most emotional times of my life. This has been a perfect weekend.
You really were almost like a little kid. You had your book and you had all of them sign it, didn't you?
Well, I think for two reasons. Number one, the black guys took all the chances and made it possible for us guys to have to flourish the way we are today. And all the other guys total, they brought the NBA to where it is today. And we owe them a great deal of gratitude and respect.
Charles, do you begin to cherish these moments just a little bit more when it gets put into a historic perspective like it has this weekend?
I think a little bit, but also I think as you get down to the end of your career and you realize you're not going to play in that many more All-Star games or you're close to the end of it, you know, it becomes more significant.
Now the West has a big lead right now. It doesn't seem as though they're missing your talents.
Well, I think, you know, I don't show up my game until the fourth quarter, so the first 3 quarters, they won't miss me.
All right. Congratulations, Charles. We look forward to seeing you in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Marv?
All right, thank you, Jim. Some of you may have seen Meet the Press earlier today here on NBC. Among Tim Russ's guests, Charles Barkley. NBA Deputy Commissioner Russ Granick had contacted Charles about this last week and Barkley said to Russ, finally, I'll be talking to my audience. And the Rockets will certainly welcome Charles back. Clyde Drexler will be out for a while, though, but Barkley, as you heard, will be back Tuesday. Houston has lost 6 straight games. The West 34 and the East 21 with a half-minute left in this first quarter. Here's Glenn Rice, who has been on a tear for the Charlotte Hornets. And back comes Mitch Richmond. Eddie Jones. That was intended for Kevin Garnett. We're down to 23 seconds in the quarter. Tim Hardaway has had a sensational season for Pat Riley and the surprising Miami Heat. Walking it up, working the clock down. Out of 10 seconds in this first quarter. Brandon eluding Sprewell, blocked by Jones. And the East will inbound with 2 3/10 seconds remaining in the quarter.
Eddie Jones defensively, that's the same job he did on Jordan to close out the first half of the season in LA.
Weber's pass picked off. And Gugliotta fouled. So that is the end of the first quarter. The West 14 of 26 from the field. The East only 9 of 27. Gary Payton leading the way. 3 of 5 from the field, 7 points and 3 assists. After 1 in Cleveland, it's the West 34, the East 21. We'll be back with more of the 47th All-Star Game after this.
Apple Auto Glass took care of everything. They certainly have a
Well, among the special moments of this weekend, the All-Star Game halftime celebration. Members of the group selected as the 50 greatest players in NBA history will be introduced. You're seeing many familiar faces. Robert Parrish, the Dr. Julius Erving. So Larry Bird and Willis Reed. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sitting next to Elgin Baylor. Bill Russell. I would have to say there never has ever been a collection of legendary talent like this assembled in one place at one time.
Marvin, it's the most amazing thing that I've ever been involved in. For the first time in 25 years, I am on such a cloud, my legs don't hurt anymore at all.
Wow, you're ready to go. Well, Eddie Jones heading to the line. Nice move by Jones on the reverse, fouled by Glenn Rice.
When Eddie Jones able to get by, he's one of the guys who can create off his own dribble. And again, Mutombo on the bench. Not a lot of shot blockers out there for the Eastern Conference.
Second quarter just underway. Here's Rice. Rice off the follow going Rice. John Stockton back on the floor. In the back over Latrell Sprewell. Here's Spree going with the left hand and rebounded by Brandon. Setting the East. Brandon with Hardaway in the backcourt. Baker, Weber, and Rice up front. Brandon eluding Sprewell. And rebounded by Garnett.
Well, Terrell Brandon did say before the game he was going to be very offensive-minded and shoot the ball a lot. I think he has kept his promise. Every time he's touched it, he has launched.
And Jones fouled by Brandon.
Now, Terrell Brandon is so used to playing pick-and-roll basketball. Now he's playing off on the wing as a shooting guard and looking for every shot as his parents in the stand, Charles and Charlotte. Charlotte, the head of NBA Moms. Terrific program for the players around the league where the mothers get together and communicate, available to the players when they come into that city to talk to them. And Terrell was asked if he would ever do that. He says, no, I got my mom. I call her all the time.
But it is an extremely nice gesture because Charlotte Brandon does live in the Portland area, and they've extended to some of the young players like Jermaine O'Neal of the Portland Trailblazers. That won't count. Foul called before the shot. Gugliotta picked up the foul. Meanwhile, Terrell Brandon, who is certainly accustomed to this court and the rims, not shy about popping them up. 5 shots in 6-7 minutes of play.
I'm sure he's glancing over at Mike Fratello every single time up and down the court too. So I can play this style as well.
Well, Terrell can. The problem is, can the other Cavaliers? That's the problem. And the Cavaliers in for a very rough second half of the season. A tough schedule with many of the other Eastern teams in that area, 7, 8, 9 of the conference, have favorable schedules.
Garnett with the block to stop Rice, who thought he was fouled. 39-23, the West in front with 1.5 minutes gone by in the second quarter. Eddie Jones has been the hot man for the West. He has scored the last 7 points for his team. Here's Rice, and again he's blocked. Vin Baker of the Milwaukee Bucks. The West now leading by 14.
Kevin Garnett is really closing down the middle, making it difficult on any penetration.
Gugliotta. And back comes Hardaway. Here's Baker to the fadeaway. Now Stockton running the floor. Floats it to Gugliotta. And it's tipped home by Jones. Eddie Jones of the Los Angeles Lakers has taken over here in the second quarter. He now has 10 points in all. Eddie Jones averaging 16 per game. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. As Matt mentioned earlier, leads the league in steals. Stay right here. This is Bill Oakes. Reach-in foul.
Well, Vin Baker very active around the basket, and when the shot blockers go up, they are not in good position to do anything else, and Vin Baker takes advantage of it. Very strong around the basket, muscles through. No big men in there to stop him. A terrific job by Tom Gugliotta, not with a lot of blinding speed, but turned it on at midcourt, ran right to the rim, ball delivered on time.
Well, covering tonight's game and continuing a tradition of 72 years of providing aerial coverage at the nation's top sporting events, the Goodyear Blimp from high above Cleveland. What a second quarter it's been for Eddie Jones, who was the most valuable player of the All-Star rookie game some 3 years back in Phoenix, and enjoying this, his first All-Star selection.
And Eddie is not waiting for anything to happen. He is making it happen. The drive on the baseline, and not taking for granted that Gugliotta would make that layup, followed it beautifully.
Matt, Eddie can play that transition game, and the Lakers are putting on quite a show. The athleticism of Eddie Jones today, and then Kobe Bryant yesterday, who won the slam dunk contest, and that was magnificent in the rookie All-Star game. 31 points and 8 rebounds on 13 for 16 free throws for Kobe in the rookie game yesterday.
For the West, Detlef Schrempf of the Seattle Sonics has come on for the first time. Three-pointer. John Stockton has 5, and the West increases its lead 44-25. We are early second quarter. Here's Christian Laettner.
Well, the West is just doing a better job of moving the ball, finding the open man, consequently getting a lot of open shots.
Joe Dumars of the Pistons on the floor for the first time. Could not handle that low pass. All the way from Jones for Schrempf. So Detlef with his first field goal as the West with a 46-25 advantage. Joe Dumars, a late addition due to the injury suffered by Alonzo Mourning. Now Baker posting up, getting deep, and drew the foul. Foul on Gugliotta.
Stockton is so crafty at finding guys. He gives it up early, and then Eddie Jones, the presence to find the finisher, Detlef Schrempf. The best drill in basketball to practice, and the most fun, is the 3-on-2 conditioner, Marv, which was a drill invented by John Wooden. That's what this game is like, just up and down with the fast break, and if you don't get it, just quickly get to the other end.
Well, Matt and I understand that, but we thought it was very unusual that you would run us and the entire crew through that drill prior to tonight's game.
I like the 2 part where we just stand there. Don't have to move.
The West by 20. Malone is back. He is up front with Schrempf and Gugliotta. Stockton in the backcourt with Jones. Stockton penetrates.
John Stockton.
Marv, so many of these games are games of streaks, though, where a team will get way out and the other team will come back and score 20, 25 points in a row.
Michael Jordan is back on the floor. Again, Baker posting, drawing the double team, finding Jordan. Yes, and it counts. The foul committed by Schrempf, and for Michael Jordan, that is his first field goal.
Well, Michael has a little bit of a look of determination right now. Coming off the bench, I think he's disappointed along with the rest of the Eastern squad with just 26 points up until that point in almost a quarter and a half. So Michael, instead of trying to do something with the ball, working hard without it.
But you love to see the big guys. Vin Baker that time, but nobody's doing it better than. But the big guys passing the ball out of the low post. I mean, Vin Baker nice in the triple threat position.
Bill, a very effective yes call. Just kind of slid it in there during the course of the conversation. Patted away by Leitner. And here's Dumars, the East showing some sign. Oh, Hill lost his balance. Jordan. Rebounded by Chris Gatling of the Dallas Mavericks. Notice for the first time in All-Star history, the players are wearing their individual team uniforms instead of that generic look. Mutombo saying, don't come back in here.
He did wave the finger a little bit, oddly enough, and he's upset about it. He's been called for a couple of taunting technicals after blocking shots and waving that finger. Don't bring that in here.
Bill, how would you have reacted to that from an opposing player?
Would have grabbed the right back and dunked it in his face.
Exactly. That's the kind of answer we wanted. Here's Gatling. Why did I think you would answer in that manner? Here's Hill on the drive. Leitner to try to rebound while on the floor. Schrempf from Malone. And intended for Gatling. Timeout has been called by the East with 6:56 remaining in the first half. The West up by 18 points a moment ago. Michael Jordan on the follow, following the missed free throw, takes it right to the rim. So Michael Jordan with a couple of buckets in the second quarter. The West 48, the East 30. We'll be back with more of the All-Star game in a moment. All right, a 14-3 run by the East. The West having its shooting problems the last couple of minutes. Eddie Jones has led the way. He's had a very strong second quarter as we welcome you back to Cleveland. The West leading by as many as 23, now up by 12 points. Good ball movement here by the West, and Richmond fires. Schrempf with the back tap handled by Leitner, and here comes Hill. Hardaway back to Hill. Grant Hill has the touch. 10 points for Hill. It's a 10-point West lead.
Marv, Penny Hardaway is distributing that ball beautifully and so effortlessly on the money every time. A thing of beauty.
Payton. Well, they've missed 8 straight shots. Current combination on the floor for the East has helped bring them back. Nice move by Jordan. And then pitches out to his teammate, Scottie Pippen. Jordan with a show the ball maneuver, but Olajuwon did not go for it.
2 minutes.
With the runner. And a loose ball foul. The West now has missed 9 consecutive shots. Payton was called for the foul. His second. I think Michael enjoyed that show the ball maneuver that has worked on many an occasion.
Well, you know, Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the best defenders of all time, but he's not going to get caught out on the floor trying to do anything with Michael Jordan. He's going to give him that jump shot all day long and try not to get embarrassed by any means on getting beat on the dribble.
Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen of the Chicago Bulls. Delighted for Steve Kerr, who won the long-distance shootout with extraordinary shooting last night. Steve arrived here in Cleveland from the West Coast late. He had trouble making it in time for the required media session, so he called NBA Vice President of Basketball Operations, Rod Thorne, to tell him, and Rod told Steve, this was last Thursday, don't worry about it. Nobody wants to talk to you anyway.
But the electricity in the air while Kerr was putting on that incredible demonstration of shooting and the concentration you see in that young man. Fabulous.
They wanted to talk to Steve after that performance last night. A minute 40 remaining in the first half. Richmond lost it off his foot. Leitner's outlet. It's a 4-on-2, and then Hill mishandled. And it was very fortunate that a violation was not called.
As much as Christian Laettner dislikes playing center, Jordan in the middle.
Right in the face of Shawn Kemp. So the East is now within 7.
Leitner's doing a good job holding down the middle. Helps if you got Jordan, Grant Hill, or Penny and Glenn Rice.
On a 19-3 run by the East, and they keep coming. Let's get by Jordan. So the West now leads by only 5. At one time, it was a 23-point hold. Just under 1 minute left in the first half. Draws the foul. Foul on Christian Laettner.
Jordan starting to take over. When you can score on Shawn Kemp in the low post, there's nothing better than busting the big guys. And then Penny with the layup and Jordan over the top. One time down the court, you face up Shawn Kemp and a turnaround post up, and then you tip over Akeem. He's pretty good.
Fine observation, Bill. Michael Jordan now 9 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. 22nd timeout has been called. Doug Collins talking to his squad. Doug, who has done a sensational job bringing the Pistons to the 3rd best record in the East. Chicago owning the best record in the Eastern Conference, but Phil Jackson coached the All-Stars last season, and NBA rules do not allow back-to-back appearances as head coach. And a reminder, coming up at halftime, the 50 greatest players will be introduced. Should be some emotional moments on the court here. Bill Walton among the 50. And I know you are excited about that introduction.
A lot of great things in my life have happened, Marv, but nothing, absolutely nothing, has topped this.
And a hacking foul. It is on Richmond. We're down to 42 seconds left in the first half. You're talking about working this telecast, or you're talking about
both, Marv. It got so special yesterday that Bill Russell was even signing everybody's autographs.
You're kidding.
Absolutely not. Bill was in there smiling and laughing and going around signing everybody's books.
You may receive a bill in about a week. Jordan sweeping through. And the West now leads by only 4.
How about the smile on Michael's face? He said, I haven't done that in about 7 years. The old launching pad on the missed free throw.
Nice box out.
And the East will get it back. The West has missed its last 10 shots. They led at one point 53-30. They were up by 23. Here's Hardaway from 30. Yes! The West by only 1. And they're holding for a final possession of this first half.
Now the West has had no answers for the versatile lineup of the East. They have beaten them in every area.
Olajuwon with a beautiful move. So the West finally able to hit. It's a 27-7 run. Final seconds of the first half, and Jordan was looking to throw to his right. Looked like he wanted to give it up. It was batted out of bounds. Last touch by the West. Right now only 0.2 of a second showing on the clock.
And nobody's walking over there to take it out of bounds. Lobbed a Penny at the hoop right here.
Yeah, this will need a deflection to count. And here it is. Did he get it off in time? He caught it, said Hugh Evans. Would not have counted. Was not a tip. Must be a tip. So A very entertaining first half in this 47th NBA All-Star game. The West by 3 at halftime.
Normally when you play the Chicago Bulls, you warn your team about Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan doing this on missed free throws, and usually everybody's in position to stop it. Here in All-Star competition, nobody even expected it, and there goes Michael. Actually, Mitch Richmond tried to grab on and hold, but Michael just whipped around him.
And Michael Jordan, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Grant Hill with 11. They led the surge in the second quarter. Eddie Jones with 10 points for the West. Gary Payton with 9. But the story in the final minutes of the second quarter, the combination of Jordan, Hill, and Hardaway. And Michael Jordan enjoying the moment. Stay tuned for the Prudential halftime report that's coming up shortly. And we'll also be able to watch the introduction of the 50 greatest players of all time.
Halftime of the NBA All-Star Game in Cleveland, with the Western Conference leading the East 60-57. A 23-point deficit has been whittled down to 3. Well, they just finished playing the duet by way of technology between Nat and Natalie Cole, Unforgettable, and some unforgettable moments are being relived here in Cleveland as they celebrate the 50th anniversary of the league. 49 of the 50 players selected as the league's greatest are alive. Only Pete Maravich has passed away. 47 of the 50 are here. Shaquille O'Neal hurt and back in Los Angeles. Jerry West, who would be on the short list of the greatest players ever, undergoing surgery. He's missed here this weekend, but 47 of the 50 are here. And now we turn it over to the public address announcer at Gund Arena, Jeff Shreve, to meet those 47 all-time greats.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the court and welcome the 50 greatest NBA players of all time. Now, let's meet the 50 greatest players in NBA history. Here are the guards. From the Chicago Bulls, number 23, Michael Jordan. From the Utah Jazz, number 12, John Stockton. From the Houston Rockets, number 22, Clyde the Glide Drexler. From the Detroit Pistons, number 11, Isaiah Thomas. From the Los Angeles Lakers, number 32, Earvin Magic Johnson. From the San Antonio Spurs, number 44, the Iceman, George Gervin. Represented by his two sons, Joshua and Jason. From the New Orleans Jazz, number 7, Pistol Pete Maravich. From the Boston Celtics, number 7, Nate Tiny Archibald. From the New York Knicks, number 10, Walt Clyde Frazier. From the Baltimore Bullets, number 10, Earl the Pearl Monroe. From the Detroit Pistons, number 21, Dave Bing. From the Milwaukee Bucks, number 1, the Big O, Oscar Robertson. Unable to be here is number 44 from the Los Angeles Lakers, Mr. Clutch, Jerry West. From the St. Louis Hawks, number 19, Lenny Wilkens. From the Philadelphia 76ers, number 15, Hal Greer. From the Boston Celtics, number 24, Sam Jones. From the Boston Celtics, number 14, Bob Cousy. From the Boston Celtics, number 21, Bill Sharman. Ladies and gentlemen, the guards. And now here are the forwards. From the Chicago Bulls, number 33, Scottie Pippen. Originally from the Philadelphia 76ers, number 34, Charles Barkley. From the Utah Jazz, number 32, the mailman, Karl Malone. From the Los Angeles Lakers, number 42, James Worthy. From the Boston Celtics, number 32, Kevin McHale. From the Boston Celtics, number 33, Larry Bird. From the Philadelphia 76ers, number 6, Dr. J. Julius Erving. From the Washington Bullets, number 11, the Big E, Elvin Hayes. From the Philadelphia 76ers, number 32, the Kangaroo Kid, Billy Cunningham. From the Golden State Warriors, number 24, Rick Barry. From the New York Knicks, number 32, Jerry Lucas. From the New York Knicks, number 22, Dave DeBusschere. From the Boston Celtics, number 17, John Hondo Havlicek. From the Los Angeles Lakers, number 22, Elgin Baylor. From the St. Louis Hawks, number 9, Bob Pettit. From the Syracuse Nationals, number 4, Dolph Schayes. From the Philadelphia Warriors, number 11, Hitchin Paul Arizin. Ladies and gentlemen, the forwards. And now here they are, the centers. Unable to be here from the Los Angeles Lakers, number 34, Shaquille O'Neal. From the San Antonio Spurs, number 50, the Admiral, David Robinson. From the New York Knicks, number 33, Patrick Ewing. From the Houston Rockets, number 34, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. A former member of the Boston Celtics, number 00, the Chief, Robert Parrish. From the Philadelphia 76ers, number 2, Moses Malone. From the Portland Trailblazers, number 32, Bill Walton. From the Boston Celtics, number 18, Dave Cowens. From the Los Angeles Lakers, number 33, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. From the Washington Bullets, number 41, Wes Unseld. From the New York Knicks, number 19, Willis Reed. From the San Francisco Warriors, number 42, Nate Thurmond. From the Los Angeles Lakers, number 13, Wilt Chamberlain. From the the Boston Celtics, number 6, Bill Russell. From the Minneapolis Lakers, number 99, George Mikan. The centers. Ladies and gentlemen, let us salute together the greatest NBA players of all time.
Time of overwhelming hype in sports, there was something moving about how simple that was and how authentic it felt. They're getting set for the second half. The West leads by 3.
As the West and the East have just completed their warm-ups, and we're just about ready for the start of play in the second half. Michael Jordan, with his numbers, 5 of 11, 12 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, is closing in on a triple-double. There never has been a triple-double in the history of all-star competition. In 1984 in Denver, Magic Johnson, 15 points, 22 assists, 9 rebounds. That about the closest. A look at some of the Jordan highlights from the second quarter, doing it from all angles, follow of the free throw. So Michael Jordan lighting it up to help get the East back into it.
I think getting behind by 23 points in the first and second quarter really got Michael fired up. He never wants to be embarrassed in any situation, and he is certainly one guy who can do something about it.
6 assists, 4 away from that elusive triple-double. I'd keep shooting if I were him.
And we are rejoined by Bill Walton, has refused to take off the NBA 50th anniversary jacket as Kemp opens up this third quarter by launching one.
Mark, it's never coming on until I get home and I present it to my dad.
Here's Vin Baker. Fourth field goal for Vin Baker, one of the outstanding power forwards from the Milwaukee Bucks. 60-59 the score. Karl Malone, Keem Olajuwon, Sean Kemp up front, Gary Payton, John Stockton in the backcourt for the West. Baker getting to that loose ball. Terrell Brandon starting the second. Nice feed, Brandon for Baker. And the East has taken the lead. They're up now 61-60. First time they have led since the opening minutes when it was 2-0.
Whose decision was it to bench Jordan?
His old coach, Doug Collins. As Terrell Brandon, who said he was going to shoot the ball every time he touched it, couldn't resist finding the wide open Vin Baker. But what Doug is really trying to do is divvy up the minutes a little bit. These guys did not get the amount of minutes that the others did in that first half. He wants to even it up. And then if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, he's going to go with the 5 guys he think can win it.
And Michael standing out there during halftime, being honored as one of the 50 greatest, as you just mentioned. That was tiring, though.
Maybe it was a disciplinary matter for not listening to the halftime speech.
Glenn Rice with a three-pointer, and it's the East with its biggest lead of the game. They were down by as many as 23. They're now up by 4 points. Malone with the fake, and Malone coming up short. Brandon with Pippen and Rice on the wings. Open shot for one of the best. And he hits a three-pointer again for Glenn Rice.
Marv, Glenn told me this morning that he is in the greatest shooting rhythm of his life. The hoop looks as big as the backboard. Everything he throws up, nothing but net.
And he has been on a tear for the last month, averaging 30-something. And the reason why is he was looking at tapes of their games early in the year, and he felt he was not aggressive. And what really clinched it was his fiance told him, said, hey, you think you're playing out there? You aren't doing a thing. And he has gone on a tear ever since. And the happiest guy in the world is Dave Cowens for the way that he is playing. And the East squad, who have been watching Glenn Rice fill it up lately, know that he is hot.
Glenn Rice averaging 25 a game for the Charlotte Hornets. That's the number 5 man in scoring in the NBA. Plays 42 minutes a game, and that is second in the league to his teammate Anthony Mason.
It's remarkable what they've done in Charlotte with Cowens, Anthony Mason, and Glenn Rice leading the way. They've brought that spirit back to that franchise that was rocked by a couple of giveaways.
7-point lead for the East. They are on a 37-7 run the last 8 minutes. Rice for 3. Yes. That is his 3rd consecutive from downtown. He was 1 for his previous 7. Gary Payton right back. So it's the East 70 and the West 62.
Mark, nobody stepped up offensively for the Western Conference.
And the foul is called. Rice shows the entire repertoire, taking it to the basket.
This is a very difficult matchup for the West big forwards, both Shawn Kemp and Karl Malone, who are not yet on the same page starting this 3rd quarter. Neither one of them knows who they're guarding, and you just can't leave Glenn Rice that open.
Foul on Stockton, non-shooting call. Open shot for Brandon. 3. Well, in the first half, the East only 1 for 8 from downtown. It is a different story here in the 3rd quarter. And now Brandon wants to run. Pippen. Well, Baker tried to slam it home, try to one-time it, as they say in the National Hockey League. The steal by Brandon. Took it from Stockton. Brandon extends to a 75-62 lead.
Play of the day so far as the best thief in the history of basketball, John Stockton, got thieved by Terrell Brandon beautifully.
Christian Laettner playing a lot of center today and doing it very well.
Reach-in foul. Foul on Laettner.
That's a simple game. Shoot when you're open, which is what Glenn Rice has been doing, and pass when you're not, unselfishly giving up the ball to the wide open Terrell Brandon.
The forwards for the West are getting killed because they're used to playing the bang-up game down low. Kemp and Karl Malone. And then the strip there by Terrell Brandon, voted this week by some as the best point guard in the NBA.
Well, Sports Illustrated magazine had Brandon on the cover, and he was anointed as a top point guard in the league.
I didn't know Sports Illustrated was having such trouble getting tickets here in Cleveland.
And Bill taking a shot. Three-pointer again. So Glenn Rice is 4 of 4 from downtown, 5 for 5. Overall, 4 of 4 from three-point range in this 3rd quarter. Here's Brandon. Rice again. Are we watching the long-distance shootout contest within the framework of the game? 78-63, the East up. Oh, beautiful move by Stockton.
You know, Marv, even in all-star games, matchups are important, and even though Malone and Kemp are the starters and starting the 3rd quarter, they just can't find Glenn Rice. It's just not in their makeup to go play a guy on the perimeter that can shoot the ball as well as Glenn Rice.
7:20 left in the 3rd quarter. Nice fake. And a series of fakes by Hakeem Olajuwon. The East has outscored the West 21-7 here in the 3rd quarter.
Obviously, Eating agrees with Hakeem. That shot so difficult behind the board. Gave up the layup to come with the spin around jump hook.
Laettner. Rebounded by Baker. Baker's done a nice job He now has 13 points. The East 80, the West 67. Overall, the East leads the series at All-Star competition 29-17. They have split the last 10 games. The East has won 2 of the last 3. Here's Stockton. Yes, a 3 for John Stockton.
Well, Gary Payton is really looking to pass that ball. He's a marvelous playmaker, but with the West struggling offensively, as strong a finisher as he is, he needs to get to the hoop a little bit more.
Kemp handing it off to Payton, who was in a very difficult position, out of bounds. So the ball back to the East, but first a timeout is called with 6:11 remaining in the third.
Well, John Stockton trying to make things happen, had his head up all the way. Actually, I thought he wanted to pass the ball in that play, but left open for the shot. And this is embarrassing for Christian Laettner, who's already beaten once, and Akeem goes back the other way. Say, hey, just beat me with the first move. Don't embarrass me.
And then Stockton left wide open along the baseline. Gary Payton unselfishly giving it up. John Stockton delivering.
So the East by 10. They had trailed by as many as 23. Well, based just 30 miles from Gund Arena, the Goodyear Blimp, Spirit of Akron, giving us that exterior, very high shot from above the Gund Arena. All-Star Weekend in Cleveland, and indoors 1,500 media credentials issued for the weekend. In fact, the number of international media members covering this year's All-Star game will actually be greater than the number of American media members at the 1981 All-Star game, the last time that Cleveland played host to the All-Star extravaganza. Close to 300 international media members are on hand here tonight. And we are delighted to be with you, Marv Albert, with Matt Guokas, Bill Walton, Bob Rashad, Jim Gray, Bob Costas handling the hosting duties. Here's Terrell Brandon with the shot clock running down. 80-70 the score. The East with a 10-point lead. The story in this third quarter, Glenn Rice, 12 of his 14 here in the 30s, hit 4 3-pointers. Akeem Olajuwon. So Akeem with 11.
And Rudy Tomjanovich has come with Eddie Jones to try to cool off Glenn Rice if he can. It's a tough job once a guy is that hot.
Glenn Rice was saying that he's not satisfied with just one time in the All-Star game, which was last year. He says he sees these guys who are here every single year. That's the level he wants to get to. That's his dream. He's living it right now.
Ben Baker has 15 points. The East by 10. And a West turnover.
And Terrell Brandon has played marvelous basketball. 7 points, 6 assists, a number of steals. Has not turned the ball over.
Damn, man.
John Stockton and Mitch Richmond, Eddie Jones in a 3-guard setup, deflected out by the East. Up front with Akeem Olajuwon. Here's Tim Hardaway of the Miami Heat for Terrell Brandon, who hears it from the crowd. As you mentioned, 7.6 assists. And Grant Hill checking back in, instrumental in that East run in the second quarter. Scottie Pippen departing with 4 points. Olajuwon now played by Weber. Just under 5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. East with the ball. They lead by 10. Rice in a battle with Jones.
Excellent interior post passing by Chris Webber that time. Eddie Jones, who was marvelous in the first half and is really one of the game's best defensive players, just outmatched. Just an extremely tough matchup for the West trying to guard Rice.
And Weber able to handle that rebound. He's running the floor. Now, Bill, this is not a statement, as Dave Cowan's enjoying the moments as he watches his guy, Glenn Rice. This is not a statement against big men like yourself, and there are still several here in the game. Well, because I'm labeling them. And a foul is called. Foul on Jones.
And Glenn Rice wants to show that he is not just a perimeter shooter, that he has improved his post-game as Eddie Jones was hung out to dry on the front there. And here running the break as big Chris Webber, who can pass the ball, delivers that one right on time.
Okay, Marv, let's hear the big man.
Well, with some of the key big men not in action today because of injuries, Patrick Ewing of the Knicks, Alonzo Mourning of Miami. Charles Barkley is a large force, but not one of the big men. Shaquille O'Neal,
David Robinson,
right? David Robinson. He wasn't. Well,
but he would be here.
All right. But the game has opened up. Obviously, we'd rather see some of those guys here, but we're having, I think, one of the more attractive all-star games in years, and the reason is that guys are able to flow a little bit more, and there's more room, obviously, to drive the lane, and I think that has added to what is taking place here. Nice move.
I couldn't agree more, Marv, which is why so many of the big men don't play well in these games. It's up and down. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 6 MVPs in the regular season, never won the MVP of the All-Star game. The only award he did not win. Grant Hill, terrific defense.
And Kemp got the step, but had it broken up, knocked out of bounds 5 on the 24-second line.
You're trying to say it's a better game when the big fellas aren't in there clogging things up in the middle?
At times. I wonder. Here's Rice taking it to the hoop. Glenn Rice with 18 points in this third quarter. Shawn Kemp. That's only his second field goal. 18 points in the quarter for Rice. 18 of his 20 is an all-star record. Check that, he's one shy of an all-star record for most points in a single quarter.
Well, back to your big man diatribe there. I just like to say that that's why my favorite big men are the ones who are the versatily skilled ones, the guys that can step away from the basket, that can pass the ball, shoot the jumper. And not just the big galoots who stand underneath the basket and try to throw down slam dunks.
Those big galoots. The record for most points in a quarter in all-star play, 1968, Hal Greer of Matt Dukas' 76ers with 19 points in a single quarter, and Rice with 18, so one away. 2:08 to go in the third. It's the East by 13 over the West. We'll be back with more from the Gund Arena in Cleveland in a moment.
Welcome back to Cleveland. I'm Jim Gray. I'm now joined by Gordon Gund. He is the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He is also the founder of the Foundation Fighting Blindness. For those of you who are unaware, Mr. Gund went blind about 30 years ago. He suffers from a disease, retinitis pigmentosa. Gordon, you're enjoying the game here today, and you enjoyed basketball for a number of years. What's in your mind's eye today as you see the 50, or you're able to visualize the 50 who were out there as well as Michael Jordan?
Well, I've got some remembrance of the earlier 50 because I could see those, but Michael Jordan, I always think of this whirling motion and balance and acrobat with a tongue hanging out and a smile on his face, and he's always knows just what he's doing. I've got he's a wonderful human being too. He's just a great guy. Of the earlier ones, I do remember people like Bill Russell and Oscar Robertson and Wilt Chamberlain, a number of them.
Now you still come to all the games, and you are aided. You're able to hear the telecast or the broadcast locally with your earpiece, but you come to all the games, and is it difficult to be here, or have you gotten quite used to it?
Well, I come to some of the games a lot. I hear them all on the radio, and either here in the building or at home, but it's no, I get a good picture painted by Joe Tate, our radio announcer. He does just a terrific job.
Do you feel the same type of emotions? You get excited and happy, and obviously down when you lose?
Of course, I get very down when we lose. Nobody likes to lose, and sure, I love to hear the team working well and as a team and as a unit. Hear and talk with the coaches about it. Hear what their strategies are. It's all part of it.
Gordon, congratulations to you and your wife Luli and your brother. It's quite a tribute to you and your family that the game has come here to Cleveland.
Thank you. Well, it's been tremendously exciting for us. Thanks very much, Jim.
All right, Gordon Gund, quite an inspiration to all of us. Marv?
All right, thank you, Jim. Remarkable man, Gordon Gund, the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. We come up on a minute left in the third quarter. Hardaway with a 3. And the East now leads 95-82. A moment ago, Glenn Rice did make it 20 points in the third quarter. That is a new All-Star game record, passing by Hal Greer, who in 1968, there's Hal, one of the 50 greatest players of all time. Hal Greer had 19 in a quarter, and Glenn Rice is also on line for most points in a half. The record is held by Wilt Chamberlain, and he will take this very bad. 23 and a half, and Tom Chambers did it 87. Here is the bucket by Rice that gave him 20 points for the half. What a performance by Glenn Rice. Let's just see 20 in the third quarter, and he is in line to set the all-time record for a half. 3 away from Chamberlain and Chambers. 40 seconds left in the third, and a loose ball foul is called. It is on Baker. Let's go over to Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad just had a conversation with Glenn Rice. Ahmad?
Well, Marv, you know, a lot of times it's hard to break a record if you don't know anything about it. So I thought that it was, you know, up to me to walk over and tell Glenn that he was only 1 point away from the record of scoring points in a quarter. So what I'm going to do now is tell him that 23 points, see, is the record for most points in a half. You just broke the most points in a quarter, so you need just a few more. You can handle that, right?
I can handle that.
Okay. All right. Back to you, Marv.
Marv, I want you to be the guy to go tell Wilt that he's no longer in the record book, and then at the same moment tell Wilt that Michael Jordan, where he ranks of all the players, okay?
But Wilt will tell you that he had 24 rebounds in that same game. We're down to 38 seconds remaining in the third quarter, and the East now leads 95-84. Once again, the Dean showing his major influence on the game as it is being played. Or, to put it another way, annoying the players. Richmond for 3. Back tap by Hill. Here's Jones for 3. Hardaway with Baker on the wing. Oh, and Hardaway with a scoop shot with 11 seconds to go in the third quarter. The East now leads by 12. Here's Guglielmo. Nice. Oh, Sean Kemp. Kemp with 10. Final seconds of the quarter. East by 10. And here's Hardaway as time has run out in the third. So Glenn Rice with an all-star game record, 20 points in the third quarter. The East outscoring the West in the third, 40-27. We'll be back after these words from your local station.
Ahmad Rashad back at Gund Arena here in Cleveland, and just moments ago, Glenn Rice just broke the quarter record. Yeah, see, and you look back, and Hal Greer held it, right?
Right.
And this is Wilt Chamberlain, who looked back and said, sorry about that, Hal. Well, now, do you know that the other record is most points in a half is 23, held by you?
Yeah, you mean that's going to go to, you think?
I'm just trying to tell you that.
Oh, well, I can do something about that. It hasn't gone yet, though, right?
No, not yet.
Well, I can do something about that. Even if I have to go back and put on some sneakers.
You heard it here first. Maybe a comeback. Marv?
All right, thank you, Ahmad. Wilt knows that he's in trouble.
Well, threatening Doug Collins might help to yank Glenn Rice out of the lineup.
Well, there is the rundown. Most points in a half. The record shared by Wilt Chamberlain and Tom Chambers. Here's Glenn Rice, who scored 20 of his 22 points in the third quarter. So 3 away from tying the record of Wilt Chamberlain and Tom Chambers. Nice backdoor lead, but Mutombo could not put it down as this fourth quarter gets underway. The East with a 97-87 lead. Mitch Richmond got the step and then whipped it out. Here's Latrell Sprewell coming up short on the three-pointer. The East squad with Penny Hardaway, Joe Dumars, and Michael Jordan in a 3-guard setup with Dikembe Mutombo and Chris Webber. Webber on a spin and then lost the grip. Webber recovers. Dumars. Yes, a 3 for Dumars.
It looks like Michael Jordan content right now to just sort of run the club, set guys up. He knows he has plenty of shooters out there to dropping back defensively.
And Shremp's pass off the mark. Here comes Jordan. Michael Jordan with a change of direction, then slipped it to Chris Webber. Jordan. Hardaway back to Jordan.
Give it to him again.
Joe Dumars has had a superb season, rejuvenated with the Detroit Pistons. Kind of stepped aside last season, looking to get Allen Houston into the offense, and he has reemerged as a force. Fires the three. And again, it comes to the east as Hardaway kept it alive. Here's Mutombo with a rare inside move.
Is that what you were talking about, Marv?
Yes. Foul on Gugliotta. Well, for the past several weeks online, our own Bill Walton has analyzed his greatest players of all time. And this week, we announced the complete results of who you, the fans, voted as the greatest of all time. Plus, Steve Snapper Jones providing a midseason NBA report card. And Steve will give us his analysis of this year's rookie class. It's all at NBC.com/sports. And I'm told the voting for centers, Kareem with 70% of the vote, Akeem Olajuwon 22%, Bill Russell at 5%, and Wilt Chamberlain at 3%.
You be sure and give Wilt this news, okay?
We ought to send a mod back to Wilt to inform him of that poll, but I have a feeling that the participants, as they say, skew young and may not have seen Russell and Chamberlain. 2-on-1. Schrempf puts it up for Sprewell, makes a catch and lays it in.
Almost a 3-second violation as they were patty caking with the basketball there. As Penny Hardaway not looking at Joe Dumars in that last possession, caught one right in the chops.
The East leading 101-89. 9.5 remaining in the fourth quarter. Hardaway. Penny Hardaway to the reverse. He has 13 points, and the East up now 103-89 before a capacity crowd of 20,592 at the Gun in Cleveland. And a timeout is called. Loose ball foul was also called on Hardaway. We have 9:14 left now in the fourth quarter. Here's that reverse by Penny Hardaway. The East 103, the West 89.
Miller Genuine Draft presents a classic moment of the NBA at 50.
Tonight we look back at the first NBA All-Star game. The year was 1951. The site, the old Boston Garden. A pair of Celtics, Bob Cousy and Easy Ed Macaulay, led the East to a 111-94 victory. Macaulay with 20 points. He was named the game's most valuable player. The leading scorers, Alex Groza. The old Indianapolis Olympians with 17. See 13 for Bobby Davies. George Mikan with 12. There's Dolph Schayes behind old number 99, George Mikan. In recognition of this classic moment, Miller Beer will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. 3 minutes in. Fourth quarter. Marv Albert with Bill Walton and Matt Lucas. And Kevin Garnett back on the floor, showing the outside touch for Kevin in his second year with the Minnesota Timberwolves. That is his first All-Star field goal.
Marv, Kevin is one of those guys who can do it all and continues to grow so very young. You're looking at a guy who's going to be here every year now for the next 15 or 20 years. And as that Timberwolves franchise continues to mature and excel, watch out.
And Gugliotta now with 9 points. The East 103, the West 93. At 1 point in the first half, the West led by as many as 23. The East took over in the second quarter, led by Jordan, Hill, and Hardaway. And then Rice picked up in the third. And the West trying to make a comeback. Here's Payton. Payton taking all the way. Changed his mind. Could not be handled by Sprewell. Back comes Hardaway. There's Dumars for 3. Saved by Hardaway.
Gary Payton really looking to pass that ball. So reminiscent of the year Mitch Richmond got the MVP when Gary Payton had, I think, 18 or 19 assists in that game.
Pass intended for Jordan. And pass on the way. Broken up. And the foul is called. It is on Leitner. Well, next Sunday, join NBC Sports for an NBA doubleheader starting with NBA Showtime at 2:30 Eastern. In Game 1, a Western Conference contest. The Seattle Supersonics and the Los Angeles Lakers starting at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And then Penny Hardaway and the Orlando Magic traveling to the Windy City to face Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls at 42-6 at the All-Star break. Must-see TV NBA style next Sunday right here on NBC. Orlando with 5 straight wins and a record of 24-20. Now in third in the Atlanta.
And of course, Dennis Rodman will be back, and Orlando continues to surge behind the improving play all the time of Penny Hardaway, cycling, killing people out there. And the Lakers playing the best basketball right now in the Western Conference.
Hardaway now with 16 points. The East 106-95 over the West. Here's Mutombo. Payton. It is a 9-point East lead. 7 assists for Gary Payton.
Marv, do you practice those lob passes yourself when you're working on your game, coming down on the break?
I actually do. I try to bang them high off the glass to myself. Foul on Sprewell.
Gary Payton loves to throw the lob pass. He usually throws it to his teammate Shawn Kemp, but Latrell Sprewell has the hops in those legs as he gets way up there. Timed beautifully between Gary Payton and Latrell Sprewell.
6.5 remaining in the fourth quarter, and the East now leading 106-97. Well, the aerial shots this evening being provided by the Goodyear blimp, Spirit of Akron. We welcome you back to Cleveland. A look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Bill and I'm spending hours, I myself, looking for Jay Black and the Americans. Not there. There's so much to do on All-Star Weekend. And here in Cleveland, the jam session has provided a terrific time for everyone, boys and girls, testing their basketball skills. Rebecca Lobo providing some tips. The NBA All-Star Weekend, a lot of fun for people of all ages. Well, we did spend much time at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Beautiful celebration here. The city of Cleveland, the Cavaliers themselves have done a perfect job of hosting this celebration of the greatness of the sport of basketball.
Oh, Michael Jordan with that hard drive off the spin, and he was fouled by Chris Gatling. That'll send Jordan to the line.
I'm sure Michael Jordan is aware that he is just 2 assists shy of a triple-double. He's not thinking pass on this play, and he just went right down Broadway with almost no resistance.
You say you know he's aware? Are you have the feeling that Ahmad is tipped off?
Ahmad is up to some chicanery over there.
Well, he is 2 assists away from a triple-double. There has never been a triple-double in the history of All-Star play. So Michael Jordan with 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. Oscar Robertson, Magic Johnson were both 1 assist away from a triple-double in previous All-Star. Oh, Jordan called for the hard foul on Garnett.
Marv, at the All-Star shoot-around yesterday, the practice session, Garnett was Shawn Kemp were putting on a slam dunk exhibition for the fans. That was a thing of beauty. They were looking down at the rim.
Kevin Garnett is the 2nd youngest to ever play in an All-Star game. Magic Johnson, the youngest by 3 months.
Bill, you mentioned earlier that Kevin is still growing. Literally, he's actually 7 feet, but his coach Flip Saunders just says he's 6'12" because Kevin, at this point in his career, does not want to be a center, although other teams are guarding him with the center. And of course, in this game, he has played some of the center position, but he may just reinvent the so-called small forward position because he has all of those type of skills, being able to shoot from the perimeter, handle the ball, and pass.
And a wonderfully agreeable young man.
Did he agree to do something for you? Is that it? Leitner with the bucket and the foul. So Christian Leitner will go to the line.
When Kevin Garnett first went up to Minnesota, and Kevin McHale, who runs the operation up there, was showing him around and said, well, you know, here's the equipment room and whatever you would like. And Kevin said, wait a second. You mean I don't have to go out and buy my own shoes? And Kevin, you can have as many pairs of shoes as you would like.
The East up 111-99. And Jordan running into Sprewell, committing the foul. Michael Jordan with his third foul.
Tim Hardaway back for the East.
Well, there's Steve Cyber Snapper Jones conducting a cybercast of tonight's game on NBA.com, the official website of the NBA. Gary Payton getting the roll. And they'll have plenty more from the All-Star game, including audio and video highlights, interviews after the game. Plus, you can vote for the greatest moment in NBA history, all at www.nba.com. Coming up in 5 minutes, remaining of the fourth quarter, the East up by 10 points. Garnett steps back and comes up short. Scottie Pippen back on the floor, eluding Kevin Garnett and popping the three. Leitner on the save.
I am shocked that Glenn Rice has not gotten back in this game.
Well, perhaps Wilt did have a little conversation with Doug Collins. Hardaway for three.
And who's going to say no to Wilt?
And that was assist number 9 for Michael Jordan. And Sprewell is fouled. And now Glenn Rice making his way to the scorer's table. 20 points for Rice in the third quarter. An NBA All-Star game record. A look at the shot chart. The red indicating shots made. And he was on fire from three-point range.
Doug Collins just called Michael Jordan over and whispered in his ear. He probably told him 2 things. Glenn Rice is 3 points away from tying a record. You are 2 assists shy of the first triple-double in All-Star history. Take care of business like you know how.
Now it should be pointed out as these are not occurrences that take place during the course of the regular season. But the fact that things have been on the loose side in All-Star play, the stats do become of significance, and they are being passed on. The East is up by 10. Jordan 1 assist away from the first ever triple-double in an NBA All-Star game, and Rice 3 points away from a record for most points in a half that is held by the combination of Wilt Chamberlain, Tom Chambers. Here's Jordan with an opportunity. Has Pippen in. There it is. Triple-double from Michael Jordan. The first ever in the history of the NBA All-Star game. His 10th assist in the game. And here comes Pippen with Hardaway the triple. Pippen on the race. It is the East 118 and the West 104. 3.5 minutes remaining.
And there's an irony here. If you remember last year, the big controversy in a game between the Orlando Magic and Doug Collins' Detroit Pistons, when Anthony Bowie went to all kinds of trouble in the closing second or 2 of that game to get a triple-double. Doug Collins very upset about it, but here it is, the record-breaking triple-double assist right there to Scottie Pippen. Michael Jordan in the first half getting things going for the East when they were over 20 points behind. He started to go to town.
And then as soon as he realized that he had the record and the accomplishment, he quickly committed the foul so Doug Collins could take him out and put Penny Hardaway in.
And you saw the stat line, 26 minutes for Jordan, 14 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. And once again, the vote for the All-Star Game MVP should be intriguing. There are several candidates as Hardaway hits a three. There are 9 voters, including NBC Sports, putting a little pressure on. The Cleveland Plain Dealer is involved. Gatling moves to the left hand. The Akron Beacon Journal, Sports Illustrated, USA Today, ESPN Radio, Pro Basketball Writers, and from the international world of basketball, China, France, and several others. Well, here's Michael Jordan with the assist to Scottie Pippen, and that made for the triple-double, assist number 10 for Jordan. Welcome back to Cleveland. Marv Albert with Bill Walton and Matt Guokas. Here are the MVP candidates the way we see them. Michael Jordan with the first ever triple-double in All-Star history. Glenn Rice with a record 20 points in the third quarter. Terrific all-around game for Penny Hardaway. Bill Walton refusing to take off his 50 greatest jacket.
I am a very proud man.
I know that. All right. MVP vote.
Don't tease me about my jacket now.
I vote for Glenn Rice.
Glenn Rice?
Yes.
Well, Penny Hardaway was close. Jordan was close, but I'm finally going to agree with you.
Oh, that's sad. Matt?
I triple the motion.
All right. That's our vote.
What's happened to me?
Unless there is a dramatic turn here, we still have 2 minutes and 54 seconds remaining. And the East leads 121 to 107.
Well, they could get the 14 or 15 point play to get right into it, but
yeah. Terrell Brandon of the hometown Cleveland Cavaliers handling. And here's Rice for three. That would have tied the record for a half.
Is Wilt down there shaking the basket?
He's over there chattering away.
Chris Gatling with the air ball. Gatling 0 for 6 from the field.
But really, Chris Gatling, Marv, is the most unlikely of all All-Stars. The serious injury that he's recovered from, completely, of course. The brain surgery, with a metal plate in the head from a teenage accident.
He was actually headed to a vacation in Mexico. Schrep was able to put it down. Headed for an All-Star break vacation at the last moment due to injuries, named an All-Star. He said he gladly unpacked the bathing suit. Said he was happy to do it, so he's made the choice Cleveland over Cancun. But just so excited about being tabbed as an All-Star.
It's a thrill of a lifetime, Mark. You dream about it, and it finally comes true for just a very select few. Then you never forget it.
Glenn Rice overall is 9 for 21. Gatling looking for that first field goal. Down to 1:35 remaining in the fourth. Brandon, nice. So Glenn Rice with 22 in the second half, 1 point away from the all. The East now leads 123-112. Still time for Glenn Rice to pass by Wilt Chamberlain and Tom Chambers for most points in a half in All-Star play. For the game, he has 24. For the half, he has 22.
Well, after that last time out, the East has come out on a couple of occasions trying to run a set play for Glenn Rice. Nothing doing, but just on freelance basketball, the fast break, the penetration, Glenn Rice moving without the ball.
Timeout is called. 1:23 left in the fourth.
right, Rashad back at Gundarino. Now, Marv, I just want you to know that everybody has to do their part in breaking records. You know what I mean? I told Glenn Rice that what he had to do to break the record, and Doug Collins is now doing his part because during that timeout, he diagrammed the play to get Glenn Rice open so he'd have a chance to break the record. Marv?
Let's see how this plays out. Rice with 22 in the second half. You see that the enormous 20-point third quarter. The record for most points in a half, 23, that is held by Wilt Chamberlain and Tom Chambers. That is an all-star play.
And if all that fails, as far as getting a set play, Glenn could do what the East did to get back in this game in the first half, just basket hang.
All right, here's Pippen. Rice is down low, being watched by Schrempf. Trying to set Rice up. Here it is. Has the open. No, he had the open shot. And now threw an air ball. He'll say it's an assist, a pass, as Baker was able to put it home.
He's working on his own triple-double.
So the East now leads 125-112 with a minute 5 to go. Chris Gatling with his first field goal.
It's amazing to see Rice's numbers, though, just with 20 of them in one quarter, just 2, 2, and 0.
Now Garnett is guarding Rice.
Get out of his way, let him go.
And let's see, last touched by Garnett off the foot of Garnett. Down to 51 and 4/10 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter. Again, they look for Rice. And here he goes off. And Baker is stopped. He's fouled.
These guys who were getting the offensive rebounds, they need to bring it back out and feed Rice one more time.
Wilt looking a little nervous. Very puzzling news. I mentioned earlier the ballot as you take another look of Rice getting the step and then the foul on Baker. A French newspaper taking part in the MVP voting, and the votes coming in, they voted for Jerry Lewis. 42 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter, and the East is up 127-114. Uncontested.
They're just shadowing Glenn Rice with Garnett. Garnett is not even taking his eyes.
Brandon just fires it up. And the entire East bench looking at Jarrell Brandon. They couldn't believe he took the shot. 130-116 over the fans here. Logan Payton right back down to 20 seconds. Rice guarded by Garnett. Brandon now trying to get him the ball. Rice being held.
They're going to put him on the line.
Right. So the foul on Garnett.
A second.
Jordan is saying 3, but what was that?
Right. West over the foul limit. So here is Rice at the line, an excellent free throw shooter. 86%. He can do it right here. First appearance at the line tonight. And that ties the record. Oh, Wilt.
You tell him, Marv.
Wilt Chamberlain, Tom Chambers, Glenn Rice in the record books at the moment together. 23 points, most points in a half in all-star play. And this is number 24 for the half, and that is a new all-star game record. Final seconds in what has been one of the most entertaining all-star games in many years. Payton with the slam. Payton with 17, the East 132 and the West 120. Here's Brandon looking for another shot to end it for 3. So the final, the East 132 and the West 120. The East has won 3 of the last 4. Rice finishes with 26 points. 24 in the second half, a new all-star game mark, and the first ever triple-double accomplished by Michael Jordan. 14 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. We will have the announcement of the most valuable player award in just a moment. And now look at that free throw by Glenn Rice. As we mentioned, very fine foul shooter, 86%. Conley went to the line, hit 2 of 2 to set the record. And the reaction from Wilt.
Time to write another book, Wilt.
Well, his teammates were trying to set him up. Some had other thoughts on the matter, but Rice did break the record. Let's go over to Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad?
All right, thank you, Marv. It is now time to make the presentation for the 1997 NBA All-Star Most Valuable Player Award. And to make that presentation, the commissioner of the NBA, David Stern.
It was a weekend for the ages. Thank you, NBA's greatest. Thank you, Cleveland and Northeastern Ohio. Thank you, NBA All-Stars, the world's best athletes and the world's best players. And thank you, Glenn Rice, 1997 All-Star Game MVP, setting a record for the most points in a quarter and a half. Jack Greenberg, chairman of McDonald's USA, is going to help me present the trophy.
Thank you, David. Congratulations, Glenn. It's been a great year for McDonald's and the NBA. Our All-Star crews assisted our customers across the country in voting a record-breaking 9 million times during the McDonald's All-Star balloting. And it's really with great pleasure on behalf of our 2,700 owner-operators and 12,000 restaurants to participate in making this presentation the Most Valuable Player Award. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much. Hold it up, guys.
All right. Glenn, it had to be special to be the most valuable player in a game like this with all the 50 greatest players in the stand. I mean, you really had your peers watching.
It was very special, and, you know, I just got to give thanks to God, first of all, and my teammates really did a great job in trying to get me this award today.
All right, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, back to you, Marv.
Thank you, Ahmad. Glenn Rice of the Charlotte Hornets winning the Most Valuable Player Award in this year's All-Star Game. What a performance in the second half for Rice. Again, the final score, the East 132, the West 120. Tonight here on NBC, who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of man? The Shadow knows. Alec Baldwin stars in the movie blockbuster The Shadow. From Matt Gukas, Bill Walton, Ahmad Rashad, Jim Bray, and Bob Costas, I'm Marv Albert saying thanks for tuning in. We say good night from the Gund Arena in Cleveland. This has been the NBA on NBC.